Twitch people, Fenaria, thank you for being first. It's good to see you. And thanks for the follows. ZIM Bob, welcome. TKNM, welcome. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Abbers. I play video games on Twitch sometimes. I also interview other streamers about streaming sometimes. That's what we're doing today. I am gonna show you a clip of our guest here so you can get to know her.
I don't even know what to say. It just it just gobbled it up. Oh. So, oh my god! We good. We good.
He blew his load twice.
I told him my name. He was like, "Oh, your name's Raven? I like that name." And I was like, "I like you. I like you." Where are you? Why are you running? Why are you running? There's more. Now we gotta fight you because you hiding and I'm hiding, and I see you seeing me, seeing you, seeing me. So now you have to die. He has to die.
It's a great channel trailer. You did a great job with it. Everybody, please welcome ravie21. How's it going?
Woo, yeah, doing good on this wonderful gloomy Sunday in New York. Sunday. So yeah.
Love it. I like a gloomy Sunday. I like a gloomy day. I'm a fan. Well, let's just get into it. Do you remember your very first stream?
Oh my gosh. That must have been, I think I started streaming in 2021, like around like summertime, June. I remember it was hot outside and I was streaming Immortals Phoenix Rising. And it was like some game that I heard about on a podcast. One of the podcast guys like really loved it. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll try it out. Mm-hmm. And then my friends, actually TKNM, who's in the chat, they started streaming and said, you should try it too. And then I got into it. And that was the first game I ever streamed. And I finished. It's one of the first games I ever finished also. I am notoriously known for not finishing games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I remember that was the first game I ever streamed along with like, I don't know, Breath of the Wild and a couple of other like cute little Switch games and stuff. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, and if you go like maybe like a few weeks before that or months before that, like what led to your decision making of like, okay, I think I want to like try this?
Oh my God. It had to be TKNM. Yeah. Like me and Kay of TKNM, we worked together. And during the pandemic, she was just like, oh, like I'm starting a streaming channel on this thing called Twitch. I had never heard of Twitch before in my life.
Okay.
Like my husband would watch it on his computer, but I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, he's on some weird website, whatever. And I just ignored it. And then in order to support my friend, I was like, what is this website? I'm going to join in and check it out. I had no idea that people watched video games.
Yeah.
And they liked it. And I was like, oh, this is so much fun. And so then I just kind of was in the background, just supporting her partner, and her brother, who kind of came in and out of the stream and whatnot. But it was mostly just like, I'm here to support my friend. And they were like, you guys should try it. You guys are a fun couple. Me and my husband just researched it, got into it, bought the equipment. And that's how we got started.
Nice.
If it wasn't for them, I don't think I ever would have discovered Twitch at all. None of my friends play video games. So other than my husband. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so does your husband stream too then?
He did for a while. Okay. Yeah, we all like kind of started streaming around the same time. Like he probably started about a couple of weeks before I did my first stream. Mm-hmm. I was very nervous because like I said, I'm like, none of my friends play video games other than Kay and my husband. And I didn't know what to do. I'm like, they're not going to like me. Oh my God, what's going to happen? And then I was like, whatever, forget it. I'm just going to do it if he can do it.
Yeah.
So he's been getting into it, but his work schedule's kind of gotten crazy. So he kind of took a back seat, but I told him like he can join my stream here and there, get back into it. I'm trying to encourage him.
Yeah. But yeah. Nice. What is the story behind your screen name?
It's boring. There's nothing cute.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's just like, Raven, Ravie. It's like the cute version of my name. Like one of my best friends, she's always like, Ravie, Ravie, Ravie. So I'm like, okay, cool. Because my family calls me Ray or Ray, or they did back when I was younger. Mm-hmm. But that felt too close to home. I don't want people calling me my family nickname. That feels weird. Like, oh, hey, Ray Ray. I'm like, oh, gross. You don't know me. That's
Yeah,
weird. But
totally.
Ravie felt a little bit more distant. It reminded me of my best friend who lives in Atlanta. And so I was like, Ravie. And then 21 is my birth date. Yeah.
Okay.
So 21, 21 Savage, 21, 21. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so fun. So mine is kind of similar because my name is Abby, and then Abbers was this like family nickname growing up. And it's funny because it's like when I started streaming, it was jarring to like hear people in chat call me Abbers. I was like, oh, that's like what my dad and my brothers call me. Like, that's weird. And now it's like
Mhm.
flipped to the opposite where it's like people in my real life calling me Abbers. I'm like, no, that's my Twitch name. Like it feels, it's funny. Like when you have a name that's kind of connected to your real name, it's just interesting your
Mhm.
relationship to it, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think I was like too afraid of that. Like, ooh, it's too close. The internet is weird. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, yeah, but Ravy, it hit. It's been my name for a long time with her. So I'm like, okay, cool. And now people call me Ravy. I call my sometimes when I'm out in public, I call my husband by his screen name. I'm like, oh,
Nice.
Dan Gunn. That's not your name.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's like it just kind of becomes a part of you, how your screen name just is
Totally.
taken on as who you are. Yeah.
Totally. Well, because I've now made friends like in real life from Twitch, and it is one of those things that's awkward. I'm like, what do I call you? You know what I mean? And like I remember a specific friend of mine, I kept on trying to call them by their like real name, and I was like, it just feels weird. Can I just call you by your Twitch name? They're like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's funny.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
I
so
do it
for
all the time.
you, yeah, right. Well, and
Mhm.
I think that you kind of like hit on something there too with this idea of like having boundaries between you and the internet and between you and streaming, and I can see how like your name would be part of that, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm as a in the background, I'm a therapist.
Hmm.
So setting personal boundaries is like a huge part of being a therapist. Plus, like I don't want people to like know my full name and whatnot. Like
Totally,
Raven is
yeah.
universal enough to be like, ooh, where's Raven at? But yeah, it's like I wouldn't want someone trying to like enroll in my practice if they could find me and stuff like that. Or even
Totally.
just like having a even if a client did find me on Twitch and just see me, I'm like, I don't want them calling me Ray Ray. That feels really intimately personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so having those boundaries between like strangers, like yeah, like the internet is full of strangers and we don't know what your intentions might be initially, but I couldn't
Hmm.
imagine just like someone just like from the internet being like, "Hello, Raven." And I'm like, "Oh, no, no, no." Especially if they met me in public. If someone in public said, "I follow you. Hi, Ravy." I'm like, oh, "Okay, that feels distant enough for
Hmm.
me." Yeah, because
Hmm.
boundaries are they're very important. They're important in the workplace that I work in. They're important in the internet world, and just like making sure that you protect yourself because you never know what people might be plotting in the background.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, and
Hmm.
I think it's this word that has come up more in like recent years, even though boundaries have obviously like that concept has always existed. But what does it mean to you? Like, what does setting a boundary, and I think specifically in like Twitch land, like, what does that look like and what does that mean?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. For the Twitch land, I feel like I've struggled a little bit with that of just like finding out like what boundaries I want because I want people to have fun in my chat, but then I also
Sure.
don't want people being offensive in my chat
Sure. Yeah.
and whatnot. And the moderators definitely make sure that that is, as clean as possible. I'm like, I cuss a lot in my stream. So if anyone is anti cussing, then don't come over here. But it's like everything is just cussing, but nothing is offensive. I'm like very pro LGBTQIA plus, pro Black, pro people of color, BIPOC, everything like human rights, all of that stuff is very huge in my channel. So if anything's ever offensive, it's like you have to leave. And then sometimes people find out that I am a therapist and they will come in and trauma dump. And
Yeah.
that has been a huge boundary that I've had problems with since the beginning. Once people I think even before people found out that I do therapy and stuff like that, it was something about like my demeanor just comes off as very gentle because
Hmm.
that's what I do at work. So on the internet, I
Sure.
come up as very gentle and holding. And I've had people come in and just talk about self harming and like really just dark topics. And I'm like, I'm playing a game. I want to have fun. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to take this elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I hope that you can find the help. Like I will hold space for them a little bit in the chat and whatnot. And then after that, I'm just like, I made command buttons that have like, hey, here's like a suicide hotline. Hey, here's someone that you can talk to online for free. There's different connections. Psychology Today, if you need a therapist. So I have chat commands that go out if someone does try to push those boundaries and use me as free therapy
Yeah.
instead of just, letting me play this game and enjoy my time off from work.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. Well, and when I first found you, I remember you mentioning you're a therapist, and we kind of bonded over nonprofit industrial complex and how awful it is.
Yes.
um,
Terrible.
but I do think it's the kind of thing where it's like on some level, that's just part of who you are, is this like warm, welcoming person, and probably has aided in you being a therapist. And I wonder too, like in terms of like the way that you show up at work and the way that you show up in Twitch versus like the way that you show up in your personal life, like what are kind of the lines there, or what are the different ways, what does that look like in each of those realms, I guess?
Oh gosh, if anyone online saw me at work, you guys would not recognize me at all. I'm still
Yeah.
I'm still fun. I work with kids, so like babies and stuff like that. So I'm still like I tell people I realize that I get paid to sing baby songs and play. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's an interesting like role and whatnot, but I'm also extremely professional. Like I am just like a completely like almost just like 180 of like who I am. It's like I'm still fun, I still laugh, like I'll giggle and stuff like that.
Sure.
But like there are no cuss words. I'm extremely just like I don't know, mindful of just like trauma and stuff like that. I wouldn't say like certain words compared to my personal life. I'm very unfiltered. Like I don't know how my family deals with me sometimes. I'm a wild person. I'm like a wild card. I'm dancing. I'm doing fun stuff in my house. And then online, it's kind of a mixture of my normal personality in my home. But honestly, it's almost just like a slightly muted version of who I am. Like people
Mm-hmm.
come on my stream and they're like, oh my God, Raven, you're so much fun. And I'm like, you should see me in real life. Like I am actually just the muted version of me,
Yeah.
only because like I don't think that the internet should have like my full personality, and plus my full personality is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
um and just like having those different hats to put on and just knowing when to take them on and off. Like for example, if someone does come into the chat and starts crossing boundaries, then I kind of put back on my social work hat and try to calm the situation to get that person, held and then also ushered outward with my
Yeah.
moderators and just like, hey, you need to stop. And if they don't, then sadly we do have to block and stuff like that if they are really pushing that boundary. And then once that is done, then I take that hat off and I go back to my internet hat. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm still having fun, still laughing, still joking and stuff like that, but not as big and as boisterous as my like at home life is.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Well, and I think it's funny because I've heard like both things where it's like a little bit more of a like you said, like a muted version of yourself. And I've also heard the opposite where some streamers feel like, oh, this is where I can like be my most like boisterous self and really show up. And so like it's interesting to me. I don't know, just the way where we feel comfortable, I guess, to be ourselves. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Oh, absolutely. Like I have seen, I guess if anything, my I'm more outgoing when it comes to like my other hobby, which is pole dancing. That is
Yeah,
the one where I feel like I can post that on my page openly. Like I'm doing different tricks, I'm learning different things. I'm openly talking about just like how difficult it is doing pole dancing, how
yeah,
physically strenuous it is. I'm like my old aching knees, all of that stuff. I talk about like the mental load it takes to do a sport that requires both physical and mental energy.
yeah.
Very open talking about that on like I usually post it on my Instagram page, but I would never be that vulnerable on my private page where like my family and my friends are. So it's
Sure.
interesting how that is like a dichotomous, like
Yeah,
weird kind of just like clashing because I'm like, why can't I be vulnerable in front of my friends and family?
yeah.
That's weird. But on the internet, I can. Like, it's interesting.
It's really interesting. Do you think that
Hmm.
like part of that has to do with the stigma around pole dancing?
Definitely, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Most likely, yeah. Even though my family, they're all very accepting, they all know that this is who I am. I still
Mm-hmm.
don't know if like my outside immediate friends, if they're as accepting. I used to live in Atlanta, so the South is known for being very traditional and very like very specific when it comes to like what women should look like, what women should do,
Sure.
how much of your body do you show compared to in the Northeast and New York, they don't care as much.
Yeah.
So I am very mindful of just like the judgment of those group of people who are mostly on my private page.
Mm-hmm.
What my distant family members might say, even though I don't care. I just don't want them coming back and like messaging my sisters and my mom and like,
Sure.
hey, what's Raven doing? Ooh, this skimpy clothes she's wearing. I don't want them to
Yeah.
get tied into that. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. But my family, they love it.
How did you get into pole dancing? It's been really like fun watching your journey with that.
I started in October of 2022.
Okay.
And before that, I did aerial silks. So
Oh,
before
okay.
all of the streaming stuff, I did like aerial silks. It's like a two little fabrics that come down from the ceiling, and I was wrapping myself up and falling back down in the fabric. And I was still doing it while I was streaming. So like I don't think I posted as much of it because I was actually transitioning out of the silks world, and I just saw one of my friends doing a pole class. She had been doing it for a year at that point, and I'm like, you know what? I'm getting kind of bored with silks. I had been doing it for like 6 years at that point, and it
Mm-hmm.
was really like, okay, like I've been doing this for so long. I'm kind of bored. I need something else. And so I just signed up for a class, took one on my own, and I'm like, oh, it's great. It's so much fun. And I have been just diving in headfirst into just the realm of what my body can do with a really hard metal stick. And
Yeah.
yeah, wrapping around it, like new tricks, different strength, different things like that every single week.
It's very cool. Like it's a
Mhm.
beautiful art form, I think, and it's something that like I don't know. You can see, I think, when people like really like get into that flow state with it, that's just like there's
Mhm.
something really. I love dance. Like I think that it's just such a like beautiful thing to see, like what someone's body is like capable of. You know what I mean? It's really impressive to
Mhm.
me.
Oh yeah, yeah. Dancing has always been a huge part of my life. Ever since I was a little kid, I did gymnastics. I was a cheerleader, an emo cheerleader.
Love it.
I remember my coach used to be like, "Raven, you have to smile," and I would just be like I, I've lived up to my name, like Raven, just like a dark emo, semi-gothy person. And I'm like, I don't want to smile. I'm just here to do flips, lady. You're lucky you got me on the
Yes.
team. Yeah, so that was kind of fun being like the weirdo cheerleader. But hey,
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to open up their views about like what cheerleaders could be. And then I went into dance in high school and did that all 4 years. And then I went to college and danced at the club. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm out with my friends. I've always loved moving my body and dancing and just finding ways to express myself physically because, there's only so much you can say with words. And being an
Mm-hmm.
introverted person, I'm like, how do I express my feelings without words? And that
Mm.
dancing has always been that for me.
That's really interesting. I like that. I think that makes sense because I think a lot of creators and artist types like that's kind of how you get your emotions out and get these kind of thoughts and feelings like out of your body because you don't know how else to kind of a thing. And so to express it through like physical movement and dance, like yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Hmm.
When you started pole dancing, did you right off the bat like post videos of yourself doing it, or like how did you decide to kind of make that kind of public? I guess.
Yeah, I believe I did post my first video just because I was like, hey, I already post my aerial silk stuff, so like here's
Okay.
me doing something else. And I would say like, yeah, like I've kind of posted that journey because I also saw like one of the instructors said, take videos of yourself so you can see what you look like. Look at your growth because sometimes you
Mm,
might hit a plateau and be like, I suck, I can't do anything. And then you look back at where you were and you're like, oh wait, yeah, okay, I can do stuff. So I remember she said that and that really stuck with me. And
yeah.
I wish I had done that for silks because when I started silks, oh, that was the most challenging art form I ever did in my life. It was
Yeah.
so difficult and just I didn't have the strength, even though like I was pretty strong at that point, but I just didn't have the strength for that. And I wish I could see like how far I had come because I didn't start recording myself until like a year in. And at
Mm,
that point, I'm like, oh well, I'm already doing half the stuff that I needed to learn. And wish I would have looked back and been like, you couldn't even climb
yeah.
when you first started. It took me like a month to learn how to climb. I could not climb to save my life.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like at the top and I'm dropping down.
Very
So I think
cool.
like having that like online personal diary of like, look how far you've come. Like people, I don't want people to see the finished product, which is like the flow, the angel in the air on the pole. I'm like, no, I struggled too. I'm a real person.
Yeah.
I didn't first start this out being an angel in the air. I was a little frog in the pond.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well,
Mhm.
and I'm sorry, did you say when did you start doing silks?
That was in January of 2017.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I've been doing weird stuff with my body for a long time now.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, and it's cool, like you said, to see that progression. Like, do you feel similarly about Twitch? Like, do you go back and look at old VODs versus now and see like where you've come?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've started looking back at like old just like clips and stuff like that, just funny things. If anything, I feel like our camera quality has gotten so much better. Like we
Yeah.
we upgraded that and I'm like, "Oh, I don't look green anymore." Like because the
Nice.
green screen just like let off a weird hue and I already have like cool undertones. So it just looked like
Mm-hmm.
I look like a monster. It was fine. The camera or the microphone quality has gotten better, but then also you can tell like I just have like a better flow when it comes to the games and even just
Mm-hmm.
gaming in general. Like I said, I none of my friends played video games. Like I was into video games when I was a kid. Took a huge break between like I don't know, like the time I was like 15 years old until I was like 31 and did not
Mm-hmm.
touch a video game for that long. It was like 15 years of me not touching a video game and just seeing how Twitch was my way to get back into gaming. I always loved it when I
Hmm.
was a kid, but I gave my PlayStation 2 to my ex-boyfriend.
Oh my God.
Why did I do
I
that? I
gave
don't
my
know.
GameCube to an ex-boyfriend, and it's like one of the biggest regrets of my life. Anyway.
Yeah, why did I do that? I look back and I'm like, no, Raven, you did like it, but I don't know. I don't know. I didn't even like him. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what I was doing.
Yeah.
I hope he still has it, like wherever you are. Yeah, but yeah, Twitch was my way to like get back into gaming and just getting used to the controls, getting used to the motion. And
Mm-hmm.
now I went from playing like the hardest game I had played when I first started Twitch was like Breath of the Wild. I was like, whoa, this game's so hard. Look at the little like Boko things running around and killing me. And now
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing like Souls games and Elden Ring and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. So I'm like, it's crazy how much my brain has adapted into using this controller where I'm like, if I go back to when I first began, I was dying every 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there is something cool about that. Like I relate to that because I grew up playing video games all the time and I have two brothers, so I feel like it was more growing up it was more kind of like acceptable or expected for like boys to play video games, right? So I feel like having brothers was kind of my gateway into gaming, but like yeah, I think streaming on Twitch really like opened up the world of gaming for me so much more than like prior to it, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. I only have sisters, and like my half brother is old enough to be my dad.
Mhm.
So yeah, and all of my sisters are there's really big age gaps. Like I remember they said, "Oh yeah, we played video game, but it was on like a Sega Genesis, like whatever like the first video game consoles that were out, like little joystick.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
they played." And then there's me, like 13 and 15 years younger than them, playing with a N64 with my other sister who's like 5 years older than me. So it's
Mhm.
all girls, and we're just like doing whatever games, whatever cute games that my mom would buy for us. Like it was always the cute stuff. But once we got the PS5, that's when I was like, oh, we're playing Grand Theft Auto. We're playing like true crimes, like all these really violent games.
Yeah.
And yeah, me and my sister would just sit there and just play it. And then suddenly it just stopped. And I think it's because, you know, you're influenced by your friends. And none of my
Mm.
friends really played video games. They're like, oh, that's our brother's thing. We don't
Mhm.
do that. And then I just fell into it because I didn't have anyone else to really play with me. My other sister, who's 5 years older than me, she had like moved away. So my video game person was gone. I didn't have
Yeah.
anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Well, and then how did you get back into it? Like what, I don't know, what inspired you to start playing games again?
Oh, it's so funny. COVID. Yay for COVID.
That makes
Yay.
sense. Yep.
Yeah. Me and my husband moved into this apartment that's behind me
Mhm.
in July of 2020. And I knew that he played video games. Like we didn't live together at that point. So I knew he played video games. He was a PC gamer,
Mhm.
which I honestly didn't even know that was a thing. I thought you could only use consoles.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just my own, like, I'm so removed from this world.
Sure.
But I told him, like, I want a Nintendo Switch. I was like, I just really want a Switch. I've always wanted one. And
Mhm.
they were on back order for so long during COVID. And then
Yeah.
suddenly we were just like checking like Best Buy, we're checking Target, we're checking, there's no Walmart in New York. So we were like, we'll drive to New Jersey and go to Walmart if we have to. We were looking for months. And one day in October, there was I guess the Target down the street from us got a shipment of Switches. And he was like, they have them. And I clocked out of work early and ran to, I was like, I don't care. This is like 45 minutes before I'm supposed to clock out. Clocked out, ran to Target, and it was like me, him, and like a little boy and his dad in line, just like holding the
I love that.
switches.
Oh,
Yeah, it
that's
was so
great.
cute. And I was like, no one's gonna take my precious. I've been waiting for like at that point it was like a year.
Wow.
And yeah, and that's how I got back into it. My Switch that's
Nice.
over here in the corner got me back into that gaming world.
Fun. Well, and how did you decide what games you wanted to stream when you first started streaming?
I didn't know. I didn't know that there were like I know there's people who have like different genres, like they're very specific, like horror, or they only do like cozy games or retro games. I didn't know what I wanted to stream, and honestly, I still don't know
Mm-hmm.
what my go-to thing is yet. But when I first started, I was just like, Immortals, Phoenix Rising. I'm playing this now, so like I'm gonna stream it. And then I just started asking around, like, oh, what are other people playing? Because since my husband, his game will forever be Path of Exile. Path of
Okay.
Exile. When I married him, I married Path of Exile too. So they were just like a joint team. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know what games you would like, and you def wouldn't like this.
Mm.
And I asked my nephew, he's always been into video games, and he was like, I don't know, try Skyrim, try Monster Hunter, try this. So I literally just downloaded all of those on my Switch and started streaming them, and I sucked so bad. They were, oh God, those games really showed me like, oh, there's other things out there besides like Zelda
Mm-hmm.
and those controllers, and they're so different. And I'm pressing enter with a different button, and my brain could not handle that the controls were not the same.
Yeah.
And so from there, I just kind of started venturing out and seeing what hits, what doesn't. I always say with like the Switch cute games, I guess. But then TK&M, my friend, was like, hey, do you want to do a challenge with Dark Souls? Who can beat Dark Souls the fastest? And I'm like, cool. I don't know what that is. And oh, did I learn? Yeah, I wish I still had that VOD. That VOD is like lost in the
Mm.
ether. But I just started that game up, and I'm like, I've never heard of this game before, but we're in a competition. Woo! Started it up, and
Oh,
I was
that's
like,
amazing.
in the middle of stream, just like I can't play this. I gotta go. I didn't know games were that hard. I had no
Yeah.
idea. But now I'm addicted, and there's no turning back.
That's amazing. That's an
So
amazing
yeah.
introduction to Souls games. That's really funny. I have yet to venture into one because I'm scared. But one of these days I'm gonna do it.
Oh my God. I don't know if I would have done it had I known how hard it was. Like
Yeah.
I went in absolutely blind. I did not know what a Souls game was. My husband was like, I'm not going to tell you anything. You're going to play it. You're going to see. He's very encouraging. Like, Raven, I know you can do it. Like,
That's
I will
great.
beat a boss if you're stuck there for 8 hours. Like, I will,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which happened when I played Dark Souls. I was stuck in that beginning area for 8 hours. It
Oh my
was the
God.
worst. I almost gave up. I was like, I'm worthless. Oh God, what is happening? I'm not a real gamer. Like, it was so many thoughts. But then I beat the boss, and there's a clip on my husband's page where I am it sounds like I'm birthing a demon from the screams that I let out. Just like
Oh, it's
screaming. It took
so
me so
good.
long.
I love that. See, my Dark Souls was Cuphead. That was the one
Oh,
that like, yeah. And there were streams where literally like I was just on the same boss the entire stream, didn't win. Was like, cool, bye, good stream. It took me 8 months to beat that game. And I love
oh my
it. And
God.
I like games that like force you to get good, but also it's funny with people watching you where it's like people watch and see my frustration as I'm learning and take that as like, do you hate this? Like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, no, I love it. This is fun. You know what I mean?
Like just enjoying my own pain. Ah, and
Totally.
they're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, just leave it alone. Leave it alone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
For you,
yeah.
when you first started, so you started in 2020, right? Is that what you said?
2021. Yeah.
2021. Okay. And then now you're affiliate. What was that like
Mhm.
getting to affiliate?
I didn't think it would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, I guess we'll see what happens. I'm gonna like keep on streaming. I think at that point I was playing like between Skyrim and like Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter also beat me up really, really badly. I played
Mm.
that one first time on stream too, and it was like, why did my nephew warn me? He
Yeah.
told me to play this and he did not warn me. Oh my God.
That's funny.
Um, but it was like a slow slash fast experience. I was just like slowly streaming. I didn't have like a set schedule. I was still like supporting all of my friends. I was making friends on the internet, which was a first for me.
Yeah.
Like meeting people in like TK&M stream, going to their streams and meeting other people. So I think that helped to kind of like spread the word. And also, I feel like back in the day, it was so much easier to find new Twitch people with hosting. I think like hosting was such
Yeah.
a, oh, I miss it so
I do
much. Like
too.
being able to like host someone else in your channel and it's like, oh, this person isn't on, but like, hey, I'm going to support you by hosting you on my channel. I still miss
Mm-hmm.
it. But
Mm-hmm.
it just popped up around like Thanksgiving. I was like, oh, I'm an affiliate. And I remember there's another person, their name was like Warlock Clay, and me and them were just like in that same realm, started at the same time, growing at the same time, and then they got affiliate, and then like a week later I got affiliate, and it was just really lovely to watch that growth of both of us. And I hope they're doing wonderful. They're also going into like social work and therapy too. So
Nice.
I know that world makes it really hard to stream regularly. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it was good. I didn't expect it would ever happen that fast.
Yeah. So how long did it take you from when you started streaming to then getting affiliate?
Oh, like 4 months, like 4 or
Okay,
5
yeah.
months. It was not very long. And that was with me being very inconsistent and
Yeah.
just like streaming whatever I wanted to. I think also the winter time made it easier because more people are inside
Sure.
and COVID was still a thing. It made it a lot easier. I couldn't imagine streaming now when people are back to like normal life
Mm-hmm.
and getting discovered. Like it's really hard now.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
Definitely. I think that like there was this like interesting bubble during quarantine of people like this kind of like mass of people starting streaming for the first time, and also like you
Hmm.
said, we're all inside, we have nothing else to do, so of course we're going to like watch each other's streams, and it's yeah, I think it was easier probably to get affiliate back then. Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm glad I did it back then because like I
Yeah.
said, now I just also feel like it's so hard to like find new people. Like I'll just be like, "Oh, let me try to find Elden Ring." And with all these different tags, like how do I find people if people are tagging like hashtag like I don't know, purple, pink, blue? Like how am I going to find that? I
Yeah.
have no idea. So it's been like an interesting journey of like growing now compared to back then. Back then I felt like growth was a lot easier and more streamlined, and
Mm-hmm.
now it just feels like growth is a little more sporadic.
Yeah.
Even like with other people I've seen, I'm like, oh, I felt like they got like more followers when they streamed because I've watched them for months. And now it seems like the followers are popping in a lot less because I guess maybe it's harder to find new
Yeah.
streamers.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and I think that like discoverability has kind of always been a problem on Twitch, but yeah, I agree with you. I think especially now like you really have to intentionally go out and find people. Like I don't think that um unless you happen to be watching a channel that raids into someone that you're like, "Oh, I vibe with them." Like I think that's like the
Hmm.
most viable way to like find new people probably, and even then like most of the time I think when the streamer that I'm watching is done, I'm kind of done watching for the day. And that's like no offense to the person that they raid into. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think that like, and I appreciate that Twitch has been trying new things with like stories and like having the like clips feed and whatnot. But just in general, I think you're right. Like I think it's really difficult to find new people. And I think that like I know for me, like I've found that like growth has very much stagnated. I'm like, okay, I think I am where I am, and I think that's okay. I
Hmm.
try to be okay with it, but it's hard sometimes, you know? What is your
Hmm.
relationship to growth and the numbers and the kind of algorithm, that part of it?
It is, oh gosh. I think I've done a really good job of just like talking to myself about how the number doesn't matter
Yeah.
because what matters is the fun that I'm having and
Mm-hmm.
just reminding myself. I know on OBS I turned off that little feature where it says like, I don't know, 3 viewers, however many viewers. I'm like, I don't want to see it. I don't
Yep.
want to have it near me.
Yep.
So I turned that feature off once I found out that it is possible. But if anything, I just really love the clips. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
that is the thing that keeps me going. I'm like, what clip did someone clip of me? Like what funny thing did I say? Like going back and just seeing like the fun that I had while I'm streaming is what has definitely kept it going. Like I remember telling my husband recently, like, oh, I need to stream again. I want some more clips that I can go back and laugh at because I laugh at
Yeah.
myself all the time. I
Yeah.
am insane. Yeah. So it's like it's funny just going back for that. But the growth has been pretty stagnant also. I know they say like post on all your social medias to grow, but I really don't know if it's working or if it's not working. Like I still post on like TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff, but I don't know if it's actually turning into followers. Like
Mm.
I think on TikTok I've had like 4 or 5 people say like, "Oh my god, I'm following you immediately," and I'm like, I've been poking on TikTok for like a year now, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to say like what works with growth, but I'm happy with my little community. They know me, I know them. Like I feel like I'm kind of like friends with the majority of the people who always come in, and that is okay with me. I don't need like 10,000 followers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and do you find that because I think on Twitch it's like you're streaming gaming, right? And then on TikTok and Instagram, I think you've got some clips of your gaming, but really it's more so focused on like pole and like aerial like silks and stuff, right? Like
hmm
is there a like Venn diagram there of your community, or do you feel like they're kind of siloed separate communities?
Ooh, Instagram is definitely my more pole community, and
Okay.
that's mostly because the pole girls, they're all on there. Like,
Yeah,
and I think it's mostly because TikTok is not very nice to pole dancers
sure.
or anything. Like, I think I saw a website where I was like, why are my videos getting clearly shadow banned? And I saw this person say, like, I think pole dancing is implied nudity, even
Yeah,
though you're fully covered. You're wearing like a bikini. We wear like bathing suits and bikinis, and we
right.
need our skin to be able to not die on the pole. So it's like, oh, but it's implied, even though you're not nude in any type of way. So I know a lot of girls like go over to Instagram to post their stuff because it's not as strict, where
Mm,
someone can be on the beach in a bikini and that's okay, but throw in a metal pole and it's like, oh my
interesting.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like pole is like my Instagram area, and TikTok because of that. I'm like, I've been focusing more on just like gaming content, personal life content, because I feel like my new brand that I'm trying to push is that I'm a real person. I'm not just like a robot who streams video games without feelings. So I
Yeah.
mix those
Yeah.
two together of like I game, but then also like I'm going through this and I'm trying to build a PC, and I don't know, there's like some family stuff happening. Like don't forget streamers are real humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
hmm
Well, and part of why I reached out to you was you posted a TikTok about getting back into streaming and kind of this like feeling of imposter syndrome. And I'm curious, like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah, that I think has always been in the background, being a, I guess, like newer streamer
Mm-hmm.
and not having that gaming growth that other people have. Like people come into my chat and they want to, or honestly, they assume that I know about like, I don't know, Final Fantasy, or I know about Resident Evil, I know about Metal Gear, I know about like, I don't know, all these God of War. And I've never played those games before. And it kind of makes me feel like, oh God, am I a real gamer? Because I've never played
Mm.
them. They all came out during that time period when I wasn't really into games. Like 15 years is a huge amount of time to not be in the gaming world at all. And when I say like not in the gaming world at all, I didn't know a single person who had a console, a PC, or anything. So I was
Yeah.
completely removed from it. And having people come in and chat about these different things, like, oh, like this reminds me of this game. And I'm just like, I have no idea. I have no comments, and it just makes you feel like, well, am I really a gamer? Am I really a part of this community if I can't relate to or even know what any of these games are? It just, I don't know, it creates like a sense of separation that I feel like.
Hmm.
And it's not even like a separation of a boundary. It's just literally like I'm outside of a house and everyone's inside having fun and I'm just like at the windows like, "Please let me in. I want to
Mm.
join
Yeah.
too."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
interesting to me, uh, because you play games like the Souls games and Skyrim and like Elden Ring, so those to me, from my vantage point, are like gamer games, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
So it's interesting to hear that you kind of feel that way because I think that like for me I also have had moments of feeling that way because it's like I played World of Warcraft because I was a fucking
Mm.
nerd in high school and loved it, and I still love it. And then also I'm a Nintendo kid, so like I'm very much into my Switch and playing various Mario games and Animal Crossing and that kind of stuff. And so like I think that we talk about this a lot on here because I think it's interesting, but this idea of like fem games and like casual games and
Mm.
the way that that's dismissed as being like you're not a gamer, right? And like I think
Yeah.
harder games like the Souls games, that's like more like respected in some ways. So it's interesting to me to hear that like you could still be in that realm and those are the games that you're interested in and still feel that way, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it is interesting. Like now that you put it that way, and even just thinking about like, yeah, like I play, I guess like very. masculine, whatever masculine means, or whatever,
Right.
like
Yeah.
masculine games and stuff like that. But then I think that's also the other part where I'm playing these very like male cis het dominated games
Yeah.
and being like a clearly African American woman.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys saw me, I'm only 5 feet tall, so I'm very small and very tiny and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And having people come in and almost just like, there was a point in time when I was streaming where there was like a lot of just like hazing and bullying and just like really like
Mm.
negative comments of like, oh my God, you suck. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like it was really, really bad at one point, and that really took me out of
Yeah.
just like, what is the point in streaming if there's just going to be a bunch of negative men in my chat? And I don't like
Totally.
this. And the mods can only handle so much. It's like, oh, how do we
Sure.
kick this person out? Or it's like, I'll let one comment slide. But if you're going to come into my stream repeatedly and like bash me, like we got to go.
Yeah.
You've got to go. I don't have to go anywhere. You have to go.
Yeah.
So
Totally. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I think there's that too, of just like being like a BIPOC woman in a realm that is mostly male dominated by people who don't look like me.
Totally.
It's a lot. Like they'll come in and question you, like, oh, do you know this? Oh, like this weapon's better. What's your build? And I've gotten better at being able to answer those questions, but a part of me is
Mm-hmm.
like, I shouldn't have had to go in the background, learn in order to defend myself when someone comes after me.
Yeah. Well, and also it's a game. It's meant to be played. And I struggle with that too, like people coming in all the time, and not all the time anymore, but like when I first started, like being like, yeah, why is your setup like this? Like, actually you should really be using like this rotation. You should use this build, whatever, right? And so
Mhm.
it's interesting. I'm always curious about like this line between like I'm giving you advice because I'm really excited and I like this game and I want to like bond with you on it versus like I'm giving you advice because clearly you don't know what you're doing and your feeble little female mind can't handle how to like play our big tough man game. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, I had a lot of that. Like, I don't know what happened. I think it was maybe around the time when like all the hate raids were happening
Yeah.
too. It just seemed like Twitch was really negative at one point, at least for me. I don't know if other
Yeah.
people felt it, but I know like some of my friends got hate raided, and I'm sitting there in the chat just like, oh my God, what is happening? And then I'm
Yeah.
streaming and having like all of these like bullies come in, or I've even had people come in and say, like, oh, you're playing this game. Never mind, I'm gonna leave. Like, you didn't have to say that. Like,
Like,
okay.
thanks for announcing your departure, I guess. I would not have known you were here had you not said something. So,
Literally, like, how is that the
bye.
first line?
That's so silly. That's so people, man. Well, so this is something I think is interesting about Twitch as a platform is like you've got this kind of like two-way communication thing happening that like you have on other platforms, but because it's in real time on Twitch, there's something really unique about those interactions, I think. And so like I think a lot of times, like obviously as the streamer, we want to be seen, right? But I also think for chatters, they want to be seen. And so there's something interesting about like the way that people engage with that, you know?
Yeah, I have a that's another tough one, of making sure that everyone feels seen
Mm,
and heard and whatnot, especially when the chat is going insane and it's like brrr, there's just like a
sure.
huge amount of things going on, or like huge stories, and I'm like, oh crap, how do I read this but also not die in the game
Yeah.
at the same time? Yeah, I'm really mindful of just like making sure that everyone feels like welcome in my chat. I don't know how that would be if I ever got any bigger, which is probably
Mm,
why I'm like, I like my tiny community. I can
sure.
actually keep up with my chat. This is okay. Where I watch other people, like, I don't know, Miss Mika, her chat scares me. I could not imagine what it's like. But I guess at that point, people would expect to not be heard or anything. But I'm also just like, they want to. Like, I don't know. I have that empathetic soul of people are here because they want to be heard and seen. And I can't keep up with 2,000 of you guys, but I can keep up with 10. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Well, it's a tough one because it's like
Hmm.
I always wonder too, like where your responsibility kind of lies as a streamer, and also recognizing that like not everyone does feel that it's their responsibility to keep up with chat, and that's not necessarily what they're there for. So I think that like it's interesting, like the way that we prioritize like how we engage with the game versus with chat, and like what how we navigate those things, you know?
Yeah, I've started to rethink that now that I've kind of like had a whole streaming reset of
Hmm.
just like how much of the chat do I pay attention to, because paying attention in Souls game is extremely important
Oh
because
yeah.
one look away and there's a bird coming after you.
Yeah.
You're like, where'd the bird come from? I didn't see it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so I have noticed that I'm trying to catch as much as I can, but then also if I skip something, it's okay. Like you know I don't hate you. You know I'm
Yeah.
not doing this on purpose.
Totally.
Clearly, you guys see the type of game I'm playing where if I was playing, I don't know, Stardew Valley where there isn't a giant animal coming after me, that would be a totally different story. I feel like in my world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny because like
Mhm.
Stardew is one where I'm like, I feel like I like really have to focus for whatever reason. So it's
I've
interesting.
actually
Like,
never played.
oh, fair, yeah. But I think like to your point, like there are certain games where it's like, oh, this is comfy and I don't really have to pay attention, whereas other ones are like, sorry, I'm in the zone and I have to be in the zone right now. You know.
Yeah, yeah, like Spiritfarer. Like I really enjoyed that
Ooh.
game too. That one was such a cute game that I didn't realize I was going to just sit on that couch, literally right there where the green pillow is, and
Mm-hmm.
just I was so enmeshed with it. Oh my gosh. So I could
Mm.
see myself like streaming and chatting and playing that game as well. But yeah, that game really took over. It was because I heard from actually took a training on like gaming therapy and how games can
Hmm.
be used for therapy. And that was one of the games that talks about like death and dying and grief and like moving on to the next world. And I just picked it up and tried it one day and I'm like, oh, this is I really hope I can use this one day with like a little, I don't know, gamer person who's just like, oh, I just lost, I don't know, my cat or something. I don't know. Or I lost my
Yeah,
human that I like. Yeah, it would be interesting to see how they process that game
I
and then
love
bring it
that.
into the session.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because things like music therapy and art therapy, I think, have been around for a while and still, in some ways, probably are seen as kind of like more like radical ideas with regard to like traditional therapy, I guess. But like, it totally makes sense to me that like video games would fit into that realm too, you know?
Yeah, there's like a list of different games, but I know that Spiritfarer and Celeste are really good for
Yeah.
just like therapeutic things. I think there was one guy on TikTok, I can't remember his name, but he was talking about like Elden Ring and like Souls games. Like, what do people get out of it? Like, what is that endorphin rush?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a trauma response that makes you like so into it? Is it a depressive response? And it's actually like getting your dopamine levels up. Yeah, I'll have to find him again and promote it because it was really interesting hearing him talk about such a difficult game and why people enjoy it. What do they get out of it? Because most
Yeah.
people play it and they're like, I don't want to keep dying. I want to move on. And sometimes you're stuck there for days.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
There's a streamer that I really love. Her name is Strawberry Shortcake, and she's a death positive streamer. So she like specifically seeks out games that kind of help you with this idea of like navigating death and our like ideas around it.
Oh,
It's really cool. And I'll shout her out so you can follow her.
oh yeah.
But yeah, I think that like it's one of those things that people tend to dismiss. Hold on, let me spell before I talk because I can't do both.
Yeah. One at a time, one at a time.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I think it's one of those things that like I so from a young age when we like first learn how to read, I feel like stories are a way for us to really like navigate our own emotions and like see how that plays out in other kind of situations, and it's a way for us to like process these things because there's a little bit of a separation between it, right? And I think
Mhm.
that games are absolutely viable in that same realm where it's like, it's not, I'm not this character, but I'm playing this game as this character. And so I can kind of like, I don't know, make connections between my real life and what I'm really feeling and with what's happening in this story, you know?
Yeah, I heard somewhere else, I can't remember where I heard it from, but someone was saying that like cis het men tend to play games as women characters
Mm-hmm.
because that means that you're able to like connect to your emotions in a different way where it's like women are known for being like
Mm.
emotional. So when they're picking a character, it's like, oh, I'm gonna pick the girl, I'm gonna pick this, and it's like boop boop boop. But it's like I think he said it's a way to be able to process the game in a different way, in a more emotional way, instead of just like the hero or I'm gonna fight. It's like I'm gonna fight, but I'm also going to process like the storyline. And
Yeah.
yeah, something in their brain just like clicks differently when it's a female character that they're playing intentionally compared to a male character.
Yeah.
So
That makes
yeah.
total sense. Well, as a genderqueer person, I know for like genderqueer folks, like being able to like play as different like gender represented characters is something that's like huge in terms of being able to kind of like I don't know express that part of your identity or live that part of your identity. So I think there's a lot of levels to what we're talking about.
Oh yeah, especially once you can customize the faces and everything. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Like sometimes I'll play, well, I feel like my first playthrough, I always play a female character. I try to make it look like me as much as possible.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
It's That's my thing. I'm like, Raven is in here. Raven's beating up people. Ah.
Mm-hmm.
And then my second playthrough, I'll choose like a more masculine looking, like just I guess what I don't know. I just like mix it up and like different features and stuff like that. I make it look very different. So it's a little bit removed. But that first playthrough, I want to feel like it's me. I want to be in the storyline. And second one, I'm like, I can have more fun and whatnot. Yeah. So I just switch up
Interesting.
the looks a bit more.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, like at least for me, I know that I play as characters I identify with, and it's harder, especially in like RPGs. It's really hard for me to like play characters that don't align with like my values or like I don't know my sense of self in some way. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
it's cool. It's cool to like think about like our identities and how the way that we engage with games can kind of reflect that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I guess it kind of like goes back into like that processing your intersectionality. Like
Yeah,
who am I when I'm playing this game? Like and then how does that also like lead into Raven your imposter syndrome? Like who am I on
sure.
stream? Who am I in this game? Why yeah, how do I even connect to this type of game in any type of way? How am I
Yeah.
processing my feelings in that day, in that moment, all of it?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it all comes into play.
totally. Well, kind of along those lines, like in terms of your different intersections of identity, like what are parts of your identity that really come into play when you're streaming?
Mhm. I think the first thing everyone always does is your appearance. Like, what do you look like? And coming in the realm of therapy, I understand that there are people who are going to see my picture and be like, oh, she looks like a lovely therapist. Or be like, ooh, I'm not comfortable talking to a therapist who looks like you. And that is okay. Like, I would not want someone to be like forced into like my therapy room and talk to me if they are not comfortable. In the
Mm,
same way as I wouldn't want you to come into my stream if you are not fully comfortable with seeing my face. Like, I
yeah,
don't use, what is it, like V chatters. Like, I don't have like an emoji or anything like, or little anime person who is me. It is this is what you see. I have different hairstyles, I have different makeup, I have different clothes. And if you're not comfortable with that, then that is okay. So I think like my first physical appearance is what is like a huge part of my stream because, you know, as an African American woman, I am aware of racism and misogyny and all of those misogynoir, like all those negative things that can come out of it. But then also there's other people who might be like, oh, you remind me of my sister. You remind me of my mom. You remind me of my best friend. And that keeps them coming in. And then as well as just like my personality, if like I said, I cuss a lot in my stream. So if you're not a cusser, then I'm not going to filter myself just because you're here. Sorry. This is my
yeah,
channel and there's other people who do not say as many bad words as I do. And then thirdly, I guess it's just like I guess like the sense of community that I build inside of my chat. Like I like to make sure that people feel as comfortable as possible. We do not tolerate any negative, offensive words, comments, any like innuendos, all of that stuff like that. Like you can make a sexual joke, but do not make it directly toward me. Like
yeah.
make it toward the game, not toward me, because that will get you out. And just making sure that comfortability is always there. So everyone, even if you're just lurking, you can feel as comfortable as possible in this stream, despite the vulgar language.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I like this idea too of like if this space is not for you, that's fine. It's a space for me and other people who need a space like this or want a space like this, you know? And I think that
Mhm.
like there's I don't know, however many thousands or millions of people streaming at any given time that like it's if this is not the space for you, there probably is one. You can go find it,
Mhm.
you know. But I do think it's interesting the way that sometimes there is this kind of sense of entitlement that people maybe have to think that like you should change the way that you interact in your space or the way that you cultivate your space based on their need. There's something about that that like I just find to be interesting, I guess.
Oh, yeah, that that is a part of the internet that I didn't know existed.
Mm,
Only because like I don't know, I guess like I never thought of that entitlement myself
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
whatnot. But I'm like, oh, there's people out there who will come into your chat and say, like I said, that person who was like, oh, you're playing this game. Never mind, I'm heading out. And I'm like, you clearly did not have to say that in the just don't say it. God, that was so mean and
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah. So it's just like, okay, cool. You can leave. That's okay. But then also just like that, why do I have to play a game just for you?
Yeah.
Like, what about me? And what about my community who wants to see me play this game? And also, me, it's my channel.
Yeah.
I'm cultivating this whole entire space. Well, my husband did all of the background setup for all of this. We didn't do this for you. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting seeing that amount of entitlement that is so rampant. I had no
Yeah.
idea it was like that. Maybe because like I'm not an entitled person in real life. So seeing it on the internet, I feel like it comes out even more. Like people really have such big needs on the internet, and then I wonder in real life, I'm like, well, are those needs being met in your real life? Is this why you're
Mm.
bringing it here? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first person I ever interviewed on here. She used a phrase that has like stuck with me. She talked about the idea of like the veil of anonymity and the way that people use that. So I think that, and I like what you said in terms of like, clearly your needs aren't being met. And for whatever reason, you chose this space to try to get that need met. And I think that that's viable for some people. Like, I know for me,
Mhm.
like, I inadvertently created a space in my stream that I really needed. And so I think other people that needed that space kind of gravitated towards it. So there's validity to that, and also there if you find a space that is not what you need, then it's not what you need, and that's okay, you know.
Yeah, it's like being okay with like, okay, like I need this today. And it's like Raven isn't giving it to me. So I'm like, okay. And it's like, all right, then like you can go somewhere else. But like do not try to, I don't know, like manipulate my stream and my what I want for that day in order to fit your needs. It's like just I don't know, like the bendiness. Like how much do I want to
Mm.
bend? There are some
Mm-hmm.
days where I'm a bit more gentle, and there's other days where I cannot tolerate. Like I
Yep.
have to go to work 8 hours a day and then come in and tolerate more.
Yep.
No, I can't handle too much.
Totally. I get that. Yeah. I relate to that very much. Um, you mentioned this idea of like you're kind of in this like streaming reset right now. What are some of the biggest changes from when you first started to like what you are doing now or what you want to do now with your streams?
I am really not tolerating any more trauma dumping. I think I've
Mm.
had enough with that. Yeah, and like coming into a world and also just like seeing how much it was like a difference between like my husband streaming and me streaming, but I'll get to that in a second. But the trauma dumping really had to stop.
Yeah.
That it I shouldn't feel nervous going to stream because I'm afraid that someone's going to come in and talk about like unaliving and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
that it got to the point where I was just like, oh my goodness, is someone going to come in and have like suicidal thoughts? Oh gosh, is someone going to come in and say like some kind of self-harmy thing, depression? And like I said, like I deal with that at work for 8 hours a day. I don't need it here. So I
Yep.
really have put like a stop on the trauma dumping where it's like my mods know like take that person out, message them, whisper them, send them whatever resources, like all of that stuff. So that's a huge one, and also just like resetting just like my view of streaming because my husband had a very different experience where I would sit there and watch him and his chat was like such a different experience. Like they all were so lovely, so nice. Like they would just talk openly about games where mine was just like a hazing bullying session. And
Mm.
so that really deterred me from streaming. Also, I'm like,
Yeah.
why are you being upheld and lifted and I am being put down and like berated? Like it was such a dichotomous like experience seeing the two, and I'm like, people just hate me, oh my god.
Mm.
So now with my reset, I'm not tolerating that either. It's like absolutely no bullying, nothing like that. Like I can tell if you're my friend and you're just like joking around, okay, cool. But with the people who are coming in and just clearly being mean just for the fact of being mean, that's not being tolerated at all either. And I'm also just playing games that I enjoy. I'm doing that a lot more, instead of just like I was kind of following like a trend of like what's the trending games, let me play
Mm.
that. And so
Mm-hmm.
now I'm like, no, I'm gonna replay Elden Ring, I'm gonna do that. I love the Horizon series. Oh god, Aloy is my girl.
Yeah.
So I might replay that one and just playing the games that I enjoy, the ones that I love, and just having fun, laughing, joking, looking at the storylines in a very different way. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, and I think it's hard to get to a place where you're comfortable with that because there is so much pressure in terms of just the way that Twitch is designed to try to like to follow the trend of whatever the people who are being uplifted by the chat or by the platform are doing. You know what I mean? And I remember someone that I talked to said, like, if you look at like who is being uplifted by Twitch, is that who you want to be? And I was like, that's a really good point, because probably not. And obviously there's a lot of like, variety there in some ways, but also like we've kind of mentioned, like Twitch really at its core, and I think gaming kind of at its core, is still very much cis white guy, cis white man dominated, and at least that's like the way that it's perceived. Like when you say streamer, I think people still think of people like Ninja or like PewDiePie or whoever the white dude of the month is, right? Either that or it's like e-girl, and then this idea of like hyper femme, over sexualized whatever, and that gets into a whole other ballgame in terms of like identity politics and the way that we like interact with women versus men versus genderqueer folks, right? So I think that it's one of those things that's interesting. Like on some level, I judge a streamer by their chat, because that shows me like the kind of like, I don't know, values that they have and what they tolerate and what they don't. And I also think there's a difference between, and you can tell the difference between like someone whose chat is their chat versus a chat that is taking over the stream, I guess. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, you can definitely feel just like the energy shift
Yeah.
between the
Yeah.
two. Yeah, it's kind of funny whenever I just like randomly try to find like new people. I'm like, oh, who's gaming still? Like I'm always trying to like encourage other people to find a new streamer, find someone new, like let's make new friends. Like I call it pillaging the Twitch channels or whatever. I
Mm,
told my husband, like, I'm gonna go pillage today, like let's go find some new people who are out
yeah.
there. And I do just like watch the chat for a while too, just like, what are you tolerating, what are you not tolerating, what's being
Mm-hmm.
said, are you guys, or if anything, I tell him like, oh, I have to watch the chat to see if they're racist. And I'm like, just in case, I don't want to start talking and then you don't know what I look like, and then they click on my page and they're like, oh crap, we were saying a bunch of stuff even though you shouldn't be saying that in the first place. But
Right.
if you're tolerating it, I do not have the time to unteach you all the things that you've learned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's not your emotional labor to do, quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly. Yeah, it's interesting. Somebody once used the phrase Twitch spelunking to find like new streamers, which I really like. This idea of like, okay, what are we gonna find in the mines today? You know?
Oh, that sounds nicer. I'm like pillaging. I'm like, yeah, let's stab
Pillaging is
them. Like,
funny, and I like that though. Yeah, there's something very funny about like the violence of that word in that regard. Um, it's great though. Yeah, well, and it goes back to the idea of like it is hard to find like-minded streamers or spaces that like you enjoy. Like what kind of streams inspire you? What kind of streams do you like to watch or hang out in?
I love a good cozy person because I am the complete opposite of cozy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So especially like on like, just days after work, I'm just on my computer, just like, okay, cool, who can I watch? Like Paramix Zeph, like is a very cozy retro person. And seeing the retro games, that one's always fun. It's like, oh, I've played that game. I've never played that game, never heard of that game. Yeah, Paramix Zeph is very like open to very variety, but mostly like retro-y.
Okay, yeah.
Or the fun people, like my friends TK&M, UG is fun. Like I have a bunch of people who are just loads of fun. A Dino and a Whale. Those are like the ones where I can just joke around in the chat. I can just be myself a little bit more. Even though with other cozy people, I can be myself. But it's like, what jokes are we going to have today? What random sound effect can I throw in and scare you? So I
Mm-hmm.
was like a mixture of just like a cozy person and then also just a funny, whatever fun person. I'm not super into like, how good are you at this game? I don't care because I know I'm not that great.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
more like, I'm here just for the fun of it.
Yeah, no, that totally
Mhm.
makes sense. Like yeah, I'm all about like vibes and like, do I feel like I can just like, I think sometimes watching streams for me is like hanging out in your friend's basement playing video games almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also really love watching like speedrunners and like try hard folks because it's
Ooh.
just such a like world that like it just intrigues me. I just think it's fascinating, like thinking about games in that way. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun that like Twitch kind of runs the gamut of that. And then there's stuff beyond gaming too that I think we still think of Twitch as like this exclusively gaming platform, but more and more it's like there's so much out there.
Yeah, like last night I was watching people react to the Kendrick Lamar diss, and I'm like,
Okay.
wow, I didn't expect to be watching this. Or like there was like a gaming award show, and one of my friends, like Ayo, was hosting a little like award show watch with like three other people. And now I'm like, oh, I'm like following all three of these guys, and they're so much fun. They're pretty cool. And just hearing like their commentary on like the award show. But I think like the just chatting streams, I need to jump into those more. I kind of miss them.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were super big for a while. Like I'd turn on someone on like a Saturday morning, but then I don't know. I think I just forgot that just chatting is a thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's something nice about it. I mean, I know I refer to this as a podcast, but a lot of just chatting streams, I think, really do feel like you can just kind of like turn it on in the background while you're like going about your day, which is really nice.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's some of that are so funny. Like there's this one person, Chaotic Bunny. Like she was really big during COVID, and that was like my Saturday morning. Like I have my coffee, I have my breakfast, I have my Chaotic Bunny. Chat was so funny, and it's like I feel like she kind of had that chat where it was going along with the stream and not overtaking the stream.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
perfect balance between just a really funny, like hilarious stream that felt really controlled somehow. I don't know
Yeah.
how, but she did a really good job at doing that.
That's always really impressive to me, especially with people that have like bigger chats like what we're talking about, where it's like that tells me a lot about like you the streamer, and also like just your intention, how much intention you have behind your streams and how you know, cultivate your chat.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even think she had that many moderators. So I'm like, how did it feel so nice? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it was interesting.
definitely.
Yeah. I wish she still streamed, but
Mm,
everyone has their lives, like people move on. So
totally.
it
Yeah.
was a good time. Mhm.
As far as your streams are concerned, are there like first impressions or like takeaways that you hope people get from your streams?
Ooh, first impressions. I hope they enjoy my humor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, my personality is big, which is like it's weird. I am an introvert at heart, but I grew up around extroverts, so I know how to express myself really bigly because
Sure.
in a room full of extroverts, you gotta have to be, hey, I'm still here, you guys. I'm not just in the corner, although I would love
Sure.
to be in the corner. Yeah, so I hope they just like enjoy my humor. Like I'm always making jokes, I'm laughing, I laugh at myself all the time, and I don't take myself very seriously. I will say the most random stuff, and that is okay. And if you like it, cool, stick around. If not, the door is over there, and we always
Mm-hmm.
have the doors open. The door is never closed. You don't have to feel encapsulated here. But
Mm-hmm.
then also, I hope that they take away that like this is a small little growing community, and if you want to be a part of it, feel free to join. Like I'm always open to hearing about like other people's stories, what they're going through, what their hobbies are, what are their games, their just like what's your life like. Yeah, like my
Yeah.
Discord is always like a cute little place where people share like recipes and just little life updates and stuff like that. And I like that coziness of my like Instagram, Twitch, or not Twitch, Twitter, Discord, where my stream is like chaotic good.
Mm-hmm.
My
Mm-hmm.
other platforms are like more gentle, like, okay, you guys, that's over with. So how are we all doing? How are we feeling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting how each of the platforms kind of feels unique that way in terms of like how you engage with it, and also the kind of vibe just like in general.
Yeah, I think it's needed. Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
if my stream and my social medias were the same, I would be exhausted. Like
Yeah.
streaming is it's a lot of energy, and being an introverted person, that takes a lot of energy out of me in order to just be on and reading and gaming at
Sure.
the same time. Sometimes I leave and I'm like, "Oh, girl,
It's a
whip
lot.
out."
Yeah.
People do the 24-hour streams. Oh my god.
The tradition has been that I do one on my birthday every year, and my birthday's coming up, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it again. We'll see. The first time I did, I was
Gotcha.
like, this is so fun, this is great. And then the next year I was like, we were talking about this before we went live. I was like, I'm getting old and this is hard. Uh but yeah, I mean I know some people that do it on a fairly regular basis, and I was like, I could never. It's really impressive. But I do
Yeah.
love, there's something, I was watching a girl yesterday who was doing a like 12 to 18 hour stream depending on like subs and whatever, right?
Hmm.
But there is something about when someone's doing a marathon stream where I'm like, I want to be part of it. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about it, but there's something very like my friend Teresa told me, she's like, it feels like you're like at a sleepover or something, you know?
Oh, I get that. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like it's cute. It's like we're playing games together. Yeah, literally it's a
Yeah.
third grade sleepover.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, oh, we're just playing Mario Party. Love it. Like, yeah, it's great. It's interesting. Yeah.
Aw, yeah. Maybe one day I'll do it, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
But also, you don't have to, right? I think that's the thing that, like, there's so many different ways that you can go about it. And I don't think, as long as you're not, like, harming other people or yourself, like, you can do this how you want to do it, you know?
Hmm. That's true. Yeah, it's always in the background. Like even like making it to like 4 hours for me is like a woo, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm tired. Yeah, but it's definitely like on my list of like maybe one day I'll do like 8 or like 12 because I'm a very pop up short streamer person. Like I feel like
Yeah.
my body can do like 2 to 3 hours, and after that it's like. And also, I'm a mom. Like you guys, I have a kid, I have a stepdaughter, I have a husband, I have a dog. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, people need me. I gotta go cook dinner or like
Right.
check on, gotta see if they're breathing. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Like poke them with a stick and be like, hey, I'm still here. So I think
Yeah.
that's another part that makes streaming a little bit harder, is that like I said, real people, like we have families. Like my kid is literally in the other room hiding because she doesn't she is not on screen. Like I'm very private when it comes to like their lives.
Sure.
I call like our daughters like the brown child and the pale child, because I don't want people to know their names. Like that's that big boundary that I have with them,
Sure.
is that
Yeah.
they're brown and pale, and that's all people
Mm-hmm.
know of their names and their lives, and that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do they know about your streaming? I'm assuming they do.
Oh, absolutely. They are just like, yeah, like our parents stream, they play games, it's whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
they follow us. But I made both of them moderators, but they are never in our chat. So I'm like, you know what? Demoted, demoted. You're not moderators.
That's
I was like, you
funny.
guys could at least moderate. Come on. But they are true teenagers who want to be like on TikTok or just doing
Okay.
their own thing.
I was gonna
Yeah. And
ask,
they watch
yeah.
Twitch. They watch Twitch streamers, they watch YouTube streamers, all that stuff. Yeah.
Are either of them like interested in doing content creation at all?
No,
Interesting.
they are not that I know of. They're kind of young, so I'm like I would be kind of like, ooh, I don't know, like
Mm-hmm.
15 and 14-year-olds, like I don't know how much of the internet like I want you guys on it, but
Sure.
for now they're just like, oh yeah, we just like watching people. That's fine.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. But
fun.
if they did, I'd support it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Do you ever
Mhm.
feel, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit, but do you ever feel any like pressure or anxiety around streaming?
Yeah. I feel bad on those times when I take like really long breaks. Like I
Mm,
think I've taken like a 6 month break before. Like I don't know. I feel like maybe 3 or 4 months is like my max, where I'm like I feel guilty for not streaming, but also like real life hits, like things
yeah.
happen, like things come up, and my job is in trauma. Like I specifically work with like traumatized parents and babies, and so I'm hearing some really dark stories. Like people say like New York City is a crazy city to live in, and I don't think people realize like the intensity of what happens in the homes. Like you
Mm,
guys see the crazy stuff on the street, but the stuff that happens in your home, that is a whole different world. I couldn't
yeah.
imagine what it would be like to live in like, I don't know, Montana versus here and doing therapy. Montana might be a little bit calmer, maybe a little bit, but Brooklyn specifically has had a really dark history with
Mm,
children, families, like the crack epidemic, people being raised by like foster care systems, all of that stuff. So coming and being like, "Woo, I'm gonna stream today," when I'm like, "Woo, I just talked about some really tough stories today," it can be really hard. And there was a point in time where I'm like, I just need to focus on myself because I can't bring that energy to the internet, because someone might trauma dump or someone might come and
totally.
expect me to be all peppy and ready to go when I'm like, I literally cried after work, you guys. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that like for me it's hard to know sometimes like will streaming today be an escape from the hard day that I had at work or whatever, or is it just going to like compound that and feel like work itself in some way where I don't have the energy or the wherewithal, you know? And it's hard to know because
Hmm.
sometimes like I do feel like if I had a rough day or I'm feeling down, streaming can like really like bring me up and make me feel better. And there are other times where it's like, oh, maybe shouldn't have gone live today. Maybe that was a mistake. And I think it's hard to know until you're in it sometimes.
Yeah, you never know what might come up, how something might trigger like your subconscious,
Sure.
how your imposter syndrome me kicks in,
Yeah.
which I think also is a huge factor of just being like, well, what's the point in streaming if I'm not good? I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna burn,
Sure.
just like that negative self-talk. But then I'm also like, no, girl, like you're just doing this for yourself. Don't do it for the old mean people who we've kind of like kicked out of our chats and stuff like that. You're doing it
Mm-hmm.
for your friends who show up all the time and always support you and laugh.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. Yeah. And it's interesting this idea of like I do this for me, but also it's a medium where other people are watching me. So like that to me is like, with art in general, I think it's fascinating. Like if we're talking about like fine art and like painting and drawing and like that kind of realm, like I think there's a bigger kind of delineation between like I'm doing this for myself versus I'm putting this out there for the world. Whereas Twitch is really interesting because it's like, yes, I can be doing this for myself, and also it is going out there into the world regardless, right? So there's something about that to me that like it just makes it maybe a little bit more difficult to navigate those things, at least for me.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like a, especially just being in real time. And
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I could imagine just like, oh, I'm going to write a song and like you're over here creating it and then you release it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I'm playing this game and I don't know how I'm going to react. And I'm in real time and something might happen and
Yeah.
I might get rated and I'm just like thrown off. Yeah, it's an interesting way of expressing yourself when it is in real time
Yeah.
and navigating the challenges when they come up. What if my string just zoinks out? What if the power goes
Totally.
out? And now I'm
Totally.
like, crap, my art form is all messed up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and I think that like there's something to be said about like it being like in real time, and also like it's in real time and you're interacting with other human beings in that real time, I guess. Like whereas like if I'm doing like a stage production of something, it's like that's in real time, but I also don't have
Hmm.
to hear what the audience thinks about it in real time, I guess, you know? So it's just like Twitch is weird, man.
Yeah, that real-time criticism, man, that one
Hmm.
sticks because you're like, I'm processing what you said right now, and people are
Yeah.
watching me. How do I can't always have a filter up all the time.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's what I think.
yeah.
Like for me anyway, like you kind of mentioned this dichotomy of like there are days where you're feeling gentle and there are other days where it's like, nope, can't do it. And like I very much feel that where there are moments where it's like, oh, I'm warm and welcoming, and other moments where it's like, don't talk to me about how bad I am at this puzzle. Like I can't like handle it, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I'm like, and I don't know which day you're gonna get me. Or it could even be
Yeah.
in the same Twitch stream. I'm like,
Totally.
oh, hi, person. I'm like, nope, no. Both can exist at the same time and both are
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's
Yeah.
something that's important for me just in life in general, but also in Twitch is like holding space for all of these things to exist at the same time, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's really vulnerable just being a human, real time, real life stuff. People can clip
Mhm.
things, they can take it to the internet somewhere else, and then before you know it,
Mhm.
you're a meme now. Just even having that in mind of just like this platform is not the easiest to be in. Like
Yeah.
even famous people get to rehearse their concerts before.
Yeah.
They're not just going in there just freeballing it in the same
Yeah.
way that we are. Especially like you said, you don't hear the audience saying like, "Boo, you stink." Like,
Right,
what is
right.
it?
Well, in that rehearsal
Yeah.
thing too, like I like playing games for the first time on stream because there's something about that genuine reaction that I think is like fun to capture in a clip. But
Mhm.
like you said, you can't rehearse that ahead of time, so you really have no idea how it's gonna go.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was me with a lot of first games, Monster Hunter, Skyrim, like
Mm-hmm.
Elden Ring for sure, Dark Souls, all of those like first reactions where I'm like, you guys, you didn't, no one warned me. Like,
Yeah.
and now you guys are seeing this raw, just like
Yeah.
chaotic energy right now. Oh my God. But lovely clips though. Lovely clips. But
Mm-hmm.
man, in the moment, it feels very overwhelming.
Totally. I agree. Absolutely. Um, Twitch
Yeah.
chat, we're going to come over to you in just a minute here. So if you have any questions for Ravie, go ahead and type them into chat and we will get to that in just a second. And thanks again for the follows, all the Ravie fans. It's nice to see you here. We talked about poll. Do you have any other passions or hobbies kind of outside of streaming?
Mm, my dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my little girl. That's my babes
What
and
kind of
whatnot.
dog do you have?
She is a rescue from Texas. We've got her through an agency called Hearts and Bones Rescue,
Okay.
and she is a American Eskimo Pomeranian Bichon Frise Shih Tzu.
Wow.
But she looks like a Pomeranian American Eskimo, so that's usually what I tell
Okay.
people.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a little fluffy girl with like brown floppy tortilla chip ears.
Cute.
She's just the embodiment of me in dog
Hmm.
form, as my husband says. He's like, look at her, she's needy like you, and I'm like, I'm not that needy sometimes. Or like she loves food like you. And I'm like, whatever. But she's lovely. I don't know how we lucked out with such a really well trained rescue dog. Like she must have
Right.
had a really rich family back in Texas because she reacts to ring doorbells Like she'll see a commercial and she's like, bark, bark, bark. But any other doorbell, she doesn't care. And we're like, you had a Ring doorbell. You have
That's
money.
funny.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She was from like a shelter not too far from where my dad lives. And I was like, girl, that town has a lot of like football players, famous people. Like,
Okay.
you came from people who had money. What happened?
Yeah.
But she's just a lovely girl. We got her completely trained. She knew like sit, stay, drop it, leave it, gentle, like all of the little commands. So we have no idea what happened with her, but she's
Hmm.
with us. She's a city girl. She goes to the beach. She travels. She does all that good stuff.
Cute. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Bromanda the Blur wants to know, Ravie, what is your favorite color?
I love green. Yeah. I don't
Hmm.
know if you guys can see all the green plants in my background.
Bromanda earlier mentioned the Montserrat and is very impressed by your Montserrat.
Oh my God. I got that Monstera from TKM, who's also in the chat.
Okay.
They they gave it to me during COVID. And I remember I drove up to their house and was like, hey, and it's like we had to like keep distance. It was like the first people I saw since like
Hmm.
opening up. And I got this plant that only had 3 leaves. And now, as you guys can see, like the leaves are like 24 inches long.
It's
They are
amazing.
massive. I had to break it up into 3 separate plants. It's huge.
Yeah.
But thanks to them, I have this massive jungle of a plant in my house that's getting so big, I don't know where we're going to live.
That's
It's going to take
awesome.
over.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Speaking of TKNM, they say, yes, what are some goals you have either this year or in the future? Stream goals specifically.
Oh, stream goals. Oh my gosh. I hope to get more consistent.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, like with my work schedule and whatnot, it seems like things are coming to like a more steady pace. Like actually this summer might be a little bit chaotic, but you know what? I'm gonna roll with the chaos. I think like I've gotten used to the chaos of my job now. So
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
it's working. I'm feeling less drained and all that stuff. So I want to be more consistent with that. And I want to try more shooter games. I
Ooh.
am terrible at aiming, which is why Horizon, like the Horizon Forbidden West, Horizon, the other one, I can't remember. Yeah,
Hmm.
that game was so challenging because it's all arrows and shooting. And I'm like, I think I can do this. I can play like Fortnite. I can play like, I don't know, other shooter games. So that's one of my things. I'm going to play a shooter game. And then I want to build my own PC. That is my
Cool.
main number one streamer goal that I want to finish by the end of this year. I recently bought my first little CPU and it's in my room just sitting there by itself waiting for other PC parts to come on. But yeah, I'm learning about like how does it work? What are these pieces? How do they build it together? I'm going to get like white gloves and screw
Get
everything in and
into it.
that is my big goal. I'm going to stream that too. So, we'll
Oh,
get there.
nice. That's great.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, Bromanda loves your background. Says it's very serene. Uh, yeah. Let's see. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't think so.
No.
What are some things that have maybe surprised you since you first started streaming?
The internet is so cool. There
Mm-hmm.
are people that I've met in real life from the internet that I never would have interacted with in my life. And like one
Mm-hmm.
of the coolest stories that I have is there's a person I can't even remember how I found their stream. I we apparently I guess we must have been playing a similar game and I saw them. I'm like, okay, hi dude, whatever. We start talking. He's in his chat and he's talking about being from Louisiana. And I'm like, oh my God, my family's from Louisiana. Turns out he grew up in the town where my mom's family is from. And he knows directly my family members.
Wow.
I would have never known this guy existed without finding Twitch. And we had lunch one day in Dallas because they live out in that area now. And it was really interesting just being like, wow, I've known you for like 2 years and you're real. Like I get to
Yeah.
hug you, I get to see you, like, and also you know my family. Like this is crazy.
Such a small
Yeah.
world. Yeah. That's
Yeah, because my
wild.
parents are from a tiny town. There's only like 4,000 people. So,
Okay.
and the town next to it is like 5,000 people. So
Yeah.
we're either related or you know my family, and he knows my family.
That's fascinating. How cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any like pre-stream or post-stream rituals? So things you do to get ready or things you do to wind down after?
Uh, it's so funny. Before I go on stream, I make sure I have eyebrows.
Okay. All right.
Yes, I am like so particular about my eyebrows. I do not let people see me without like my signature eyebrows on my face.
Okay.
I don't care if I don't have mascara or anything else. I'm like, these right here have to be on before I'm on camera.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's my pre-sit ritual, as well as
Okay.
like getting like water. I have my huge water bottle here because hydration is always needed. So that's
Mm-hmm.
pre. And then post, I rate out after every stream. I don't care if I only have one follower or one little person in there. We are gonna rate out and we're gonna stay for a little bit and like check things out and then get up and stretch. I like always like get up and just move my body around while I'm
Yeah.
also in that other person's chat. And then I go back through and just like, sit on the couch, check in with my family, like, hey girl, how you doing? Hey dog, what's up? Hey husband,
Mm-hmm.
I know I ignored you for like 3 hours or whatever. And then I get to go about my day and just do whatever I need to. But stretching, rating, and making sure that my family's all good after I ignore them for a little while, that's my post-stream ritual.
Yeah, no, totally. That idea of like time to check in with reality now and remember that, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's like, hi humans, hi humans and dog, yeah.
That's funny. Earlier, Big Man A21 said, "What is Dark Souls? Is it like Tetris?"
You should find out for yourself. Yeah, it goes on sale. That's all I'm gonna say about Dark Souls.
It's
Yeah,
just like Tetris, actually. Yeah.
just like it. Yeah, you got to use a lot of mind power.
Yeah.
Yeah, to use it. A lot of patience.
Romanda says the brows look great, by the way. So,
Oh, thank you.
now you know.
Very,
Ravi,
very huge on my brows.
they're important. Yeah, they're the window to the soul. I don't know. That's not true, but sure, why not? um, TK and M wants to know, Ravi, when are you fighting Gwyn?
Oh God. Oh yeah, they know. I played the whole entire Dark Souls series on a Switch. I played Dark Souls 1 on a Switch. And
I heard you say that about because you play Skyrim on a Switch too, right? That's
yeah,
so impressive to me.
it's insane. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
moving a lot of my Switch games onto my PS5 because we got our PS5 through like nice Amex points and stuff like that. So we're
Okay.
like, we got free PS5, yeah, but we also spent a whole lot of money to go to Korea, so it kind
Okay.
of equaled out. But
Yeah.
I'm moving a lot of my Switch games onto the PS5 because the controller is just so much better. But they know I made it through the whole entire game, made it to the last boss, and I was like, I give up. I'm not fighting it. And I never
Mm.
finished Dark Souls 1. So
Mm.
I'm going to play it because I downloaded Dark Souls 1 on my PS5, and I'm just going to do the whole game over again on my PS5 instead of my Switch because, man, the Switch controls are trash. I
I
don't know
believe
how I
it.
did that whole game. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, I'm impressed, and I'm hoping that once you do it on PS5, it feels a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
Do you have any advice for your younger streamer self?
Oh, little baby Raven.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely stand up for yourself more. Yeah,
Mm.
there were times when I kind of like got scared only because like the internet was such a new place to me
Yeah.
and whatnot. Like it felt so weird being in a space where people are reacting to you real time instead of like leaving
Yeah.
a comment. I leave a comment, they comment 2 hours later. Like that's completely different than like someone being right there in your face, being I guess like a mean person. So like girl, be the badass that you are in the street. Like
Mm-hmm.
bring that to the internet. You don't always have to be nice just because you don't know what they look like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I think like I kept putting in my head like, well, what if they went through a bad day? What if? And I'm like, girl, people on the street have bad days too. And this is basically the internet street. So just stand up for yourself more. I think that's a big one. And also just explore the games that you want. Like, don't
Mm-hmm.
take suggestions. Like, just explore whatever you want to. Take some suggestions, look into them, but make sure that it's for you. Like, don't play Call of Duty just because a bunch of people are saying play Call of Duty. If you
Yeah.
don't like it, then you won't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but research it. Make sure that you're comfortable with it, and then make sure you're comfortable streaming it. Like, there's some games that I might not be fully comfortable streaming. Like, I don't know, Grand Theft Auto. That's one of the ones where I'm like, I don't know if I'm fully 100% comfortable, although I love that game, but do I want to stream that with
Mm.
there's a lot in that game, lots of, you know, anti-women, very violent
Yeah.
stuff. And even
Yeah.
though Dark Souls is violent, it's more fantastical. Grand Theft Auto feels more real.
Totally.
And I'm not sure if I'm fully comfortable with all of that.
I get that. That makes a lot of sense. Well, yeah. What are kind of games that you, or how do you determine like this is a game that's probably just for me and not for streaming versus like, oh, this is a game I think I want to stream.
I like to do the cozy ones offline. Like there's that one game, Kina. Bridge of Light or something. I think that's called Kina. That one I did completely off stream, and it's like a cozy souls game. I loved it. Like I love a good cozy game for myself. Like
Mm-hmm.
people can get the chaos on stream and the fun and the laughs, but I want something to just sit back and play on my own after work for me
Yeah.
so that I can enjoy it. So I do the cozier stuff off stream, and then I do the like fun, more interactive. I feel like fantasy is more of my realm over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then this stuff, I don't know, cozy is for myself.
That makes sense. I played Animal
Mhm.
Crossing on stream one time and I was like, never again. And it's just and there's lots of people that do it on stream and they love it, but for me it's one of those where it's like, no, I just want to like take my time and plant my trees and not have people be like, "Oh, did you want to do this thing? Oh, you could do this." Like, I don't want to min-max Animal
Yeah.
Crossing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I did Cult of the Lamb on stream once, and it's
Mm.
like, no, you guys, like that one's like a little bit cozy, a little dark cozy to me.
Mhm.
But I'm like, no, hold on, like I want to like make sure my followers are like going to church, and like I don't want to kill them yet. Yeah, and it's like,
Right.
oh, this one felt too like cozy for me, and I'm like, okay, I can't do the cozy ones on stream. Like it felt like let me just do my own thing.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense to me. Wondergun wants to know, do you have a favorite genre of games?
Clearly it's the Souls
Mm.
series. I got sucked in. I didn't know it was gonna take me and just like yoink me into that. But I think the gratification of finally beating things, understanding the mechanics, like over leveling myself because I love over leveling myself. So the
Mhm.
Souls series has always been my new thing for the past like what 2 years now. But before that, I just liked just regular RPGs. I think RPGs are my main go-tos, like Horizon, Zelda, what was it, Phoenix Rising, any of those ones where it's like you are the character. I'm really enjoying those. Yeah. I'm not
Yeah.
much of a story person. Sometimes I'll like click through and just be like, forget the story, I want to fight.
Yeah.
But I do love being the character in those realms.
Yeah, definitely. Um, well, thank you, Twitch chat, for all your great questions. Appreciate you all being here. I think we'll go ahead and start winding things down. I know we kind of just talked about this, but do you have any projects or goals coming up that you want to let the people know about?
Other than building my PC, that's like my big project in the background. I'm using like PC part picker. I don't know, I have like a Ryzen 7 CPU thingy. And I'm like, I'm still like learning it all. So I think that's like the big project that I'm doing in the background, just learning about the PC parts. Like I'm actually streaming right now. People are probably like, how are you building a PC? And like, what are you streaming on? This is my husband's PC, but I
Okay.
want my own. I want to
Yeah.
know how he put his together, and I want to do that myself. Like I'm a big person on like, hey, like why not just have two things? Like we're both doing stuff. So like why am I girl, give me my own stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm trying to learn all of that on my own and just figuring it all out. Like I think it's pretty cool, and I can do my own streams while he's in here and I'm over there, and we can stream together in the same house.
Fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Love that. And did you say you're going to stream the process of you building it?
Yeah, once I get the pieces
Cool.
together, I'm just gonna hook up a camera and you guys are gonna see me all. I'm probably gonna have like a hazmat suit. I'm so scared that like dog hair is gonna get into it.
Yeah, totally.
I'm just gonna like have a tent in my living room and I'm like, get my dog's hair out of here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love it. Exciting. Well, if you all
Mhm.
are not following Ravie already, please, please, please go do that. Not only on Twitch, but highly recommend on TikTok and Instagram as well for all the awesome poll content because it's very cool. Um, with that, we'll finish things out with a little. I have 10 question questionnaire, inspired by James Lipton, Bernard Pivot, and CJ the X. Just like quick and dirty, first thing that comes to mind. Ravie 21, are you ready?
Yes.
All
Let's
right.
go.
Which game or activity do you love to stream the most?
Gamer activity. Oh God. I don't know. Just fighting things. I just like fighting bosses. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Which game or activity do you hate to stream the most?
Oh, ooh, the cozy ones. I can't do cozy games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's not for me. Yeah.
Sure. What
Mhm.
turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Oh. Oh my goodness. What does? I guess like my friends. Yeah. I
Hmm.
definitely, especially with gaming, seeing my friends streaming and like what games that they're doing, I'm like, yeah, I can still do that. Yeah. Like I see myself in them. So like they're very inspirational, especially like all of my little gamer friends that I've made on Twitch. They get me going all the time.
Love that. Yeah. What turns you off creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Negativity, oppression, like I'm big on human rights. I need humans to be uplifted and not torn down. That's a never for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Which streamer would you like to meet most in real life?
I mean, I've already met like a lot of my friends in real life. Who do I want to? Hmm. You know what? T-Pain.
Okay.
T-Pain is a wonderful streamer.
That's a great answer. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing great. I love it.
What's something you would like to try on stream, but you never have?
Oh, I always wanted to do like a build. Like I see people doing like Lego builds and stuff like that.
Mm,
I've wanted to, or cooking, one of those two. I love
okay.
cooking, but just figuring out the setup and my kitchen. I'm in a New York City apartment, so I'm like, how do I set this up? But we have a pretty good kitchen for streaming cooking.
Yeah.
So either building Legos or cooking something.
Okay. Yeah. What is something you would never want to do on stream?
I'm not doing hot tubs. I'm
Okay.
not I'm not doing the butt cam thing. We are not doing that. You guys are gonna get
Okay.
like here up and that's it.
Why do you go live?
I guess like de-stress,
Mm,
hang out, meet new. I love meeting new people. I love finding out that streamers who live in New York City, we did like a whole entire like meet and greet once with some people who came down from Boston, came for Comic-Con.
oh,
So
nice.
I feel like I go live to meet other people. I love hearing their stories, what games they're playing, and then hopefully we get to meet in real life. If you're on the East Coast, if you're visiting New York City, I will find time to meet you, even if it's for like 20 minutes. I will do
Mm,
it.
yeah.
Mhm.
Follow-up question. Why do you really go live?
I go live because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. It's good to laugh. Like I said, I love looking back at my old clips and just cackling at my own insanity and like fun and stuff like that. So that's why I go live. It's just funny.
Love it. All right, final question. You're on your deathbed, but you know exactly how much time you have left. You have any and all resources available to you. Viewer count doesn't matter. Commercial viability doesn't matter. None of that matters. What do you do for your final stream on Earth?
Oh, I'm playing Elden Ring. That's my
Nice.
girl. Elden Ring is my girl. That's it. I don't
Love
care
it.
who's watching. It's just gonna be me and Melania on Margot. We're just going at it ham all day.
Perfect. Aw. Ravie, thank you so much for being here and for sharing about yourself. It was really, really lovely to get to know you more. I really appreciate it.
Oh yes, thanks for having me. Thanks for stopping
Yeah,
by, all of the peoples. Yes.
definitely. With that, is there someone online right now that you would like us to raid out to? Somebody we can
Oh
share
my
the love with?
gosh. Let me see who's online. Let me go down. We can do Rocks and Stone. ROXANDSTONE. Yeah, they're
Ooh,
playing Genshin Impact. I just started following them about like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
perfect.
Yeah,
Give me
yeah.
one
Rocks
second
and
here.
Stone.
Uh, da-da-da. I'm gonna have you spell that for me one more time in just a second here.
Yeah.
So chat, here is a little message you can spam that lets them know that Ravie sent us. Okay, one more time. Can you spell it for me?
Yeah. ROXANDSTONE. Rocks and
Rocks
Stone.
and Stone. Perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. We're gonna go hang out with Rocks and Stone. So say hi. Let them know that Ravie sent us. And then if you like this sort of thing, we do Why We Go Live every couple Sundays here on my channel. And if you are a streamer or you know a streamer that you think would be a good guest, you can send an email to whywegolive@gmail.com. You can follow Why We Go Live on all the different socials and things for updates. Twitch chat, thanks for being here. Ravie, thank you again. This was lovely. And we'll see you all next time. All
So
right.
bye guys.
Goodbye. 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 gotta make it awkward right at the end.
Yeah, I'm like, trail off.
Perfect. Let me just
Yeah.
do that and